there, fellow freelancers. It's your pricing queen here, Jazz, here to help you turn up the heat in your pricing game. As a freelancer myself, I know how tough it can be to set the right price for your services. But fear not, my friends. Today we are going to dive deep into some pricing strategies that will help you earn what you're worth and build a thriving freelance business. And as always, I'll be adding a pinch of foodie flair to keep things spicy. So grab your aprons, grab your chef's hats, and let's get cooking. Got a question for you. Are your current creative clients waving more red flags than a parade? Yeah, I've been there. In the decade and a half that I have been a designer, I have experienced my fair share of bad clients. Clients that email, then text, then call. Ugh, clients that question my fees or try to control my creativity. It happens, but it's important that you learn from it and apply that learning to the next client, and the next, and the next. So today I'm listing my top 6 red flags that I've experienced in my creative career and how I would handle them and what to look out for. Now, it's common when working with clients for the first time that you have very differing styles and differing ways of working. It's a balance. Over-communication can be too much at times, and there are outside of business hours calls or multiple different platforms that they communicate on. This can get confusing and relevant information can get lost. Mistakes get made, and this is frustrating not only for the client, but also for you. Then there's the other end of the scale, under-communicating. Not saying what they think or saying, yeah, you'll work it out, do your thing. Or they fall off the face of the earth and you don't hear from them for months at a time. Seriously, both are just as bad for the design project as the other. Finding that communication sweet spot is something that is developed over time and with exactly that, communication. Now, how I would solve this personally is when you onboard your clients, communicate your expectations clearly. How do you best work? What are the hours that you are accessible? If you want to organize a call, how should they book? I personally use Calendly to set up all of my meetings and have only available a few hours a day and send that link to them to book it themselves. It's literally been a game changer. Remember, every client and yourself are both human. It's up to both of you to find a way to work. Now, if you're a creative that doesn't currently have an onboarding process, let me send you here. If you head here, you can access my client onboarding kit where you can implement and set all of those expectations from day dot. Trust me, it has been such a loved dish from so many of my friends and fellow creatives that have implemented it in their business and really set up that communication and what is okay and what's not okay when starting to work with a client. Everyone has a different hourly rate or a different way of billing. Some bill by the hour, some by the project, some by the value, others by the outcome. Then there's retainers and payment plans. Seriously, I've had in the past clients compare what their experience have been with other designers and then place that expectation on me. And guess what? I'm not them. Tell me if you've heard this. Oh, the last designer did it for X amount of dollars. Can't you match that? Unless you really need the job, you can say no to a client that compares you with the past designer. That last designer may have undercharged and regrets it, or has passed it on because, that client might be having unrealistic expectations or common scope creep, or maybe they're a pain in the butt. You don't have to start off a relationship feeling compared against, undervalued, and set that expectation for both you and the client that that's not what you're here for. You're not here to replace them. You're here to be a new them. So here's how I'd solve this one. Knowing your worth as a designer, creative, monkey trainer is an everlasting battle. It's not meant to be easy. It's putting a dollar figure on that, what you're providing, what you're creating, and that can be hard. But it does get easier the more you do it, the more you realize that it's about finding clients that value you for the same worth that you put on yourself or the same value that you put on what you're creating, and then obviously add for tax. Okay, so hot tip. It can sometimes be tempting to discount or lower a price when we're about to send that invoice or quote. Stop! Seriously, you have no idea what their budget or value is and what they're placing on that relationship. And sometimes that preemptive discounting can do more harm than good. Now, there was this picture that bounced around the internet a million years ago, but it resurfaces every once in a while, which had the price list of like, I design $100, you watch $150, you direct $200 or something like that. When the client is basically having their hand on the mouse, stylus, or pencil, they become controlling, micromanaging, and literally a nightmare to work with. This can be a killer for your creativity that comes from that solo experimentation and play in design. You can't do that if you're being controlled by the client. Being the professional creative in the room and in the relationship is the position to be held on to. You need to remember that you are the creative that they hired. They hired you for your expertise, not as a vehicle to execute their exact vision, but with the ability to operate the software. Seriously, I've had that line. A client that gives you no creative freedom, that is a client that doesn't understand the relationship that they've stepped into. So here's how I would solve this one. Set the boundaries and expectations and stick to them. Stand your ground. If a client comes back and asks you to do something that you have tried already and it didn't work, tell them. The more you communicate, the more they will hopefully see you as the professional that they have hired and are paying the big bucks to. Oh, dreaded scope creep. Seriously, this refers to changes, continuous or uncontrolled growth in a project scope at literally any point after the project kicks off, like after it begins. It happens a lot with projects, sometimes from the client when they've misjudged the amount of work or they want to change the plan, or from the designer's end when they've discovered partway through that it's actually a more complex job than first thought. Now, sometimes clients will try to be cheeky. Can we just add it on, or can't we just have both designs? And this is where it's time to put your big designer pants on and set what's okay and what's not. Not that long ago, I actually had a client partway through a project say, well, we've decided and discovered that we don't actually need that thing anymore, but can we reallocate that budget to this? And I sat there and I worked it out and then was able to say, yes, but here's the contingencies or here's the barriers that we have to put around that change. It's a communication process. It's about developing that understanding of what is going in and what is coming out. So, how to solve this one is responding to creep with common sense. If they ask to add something, respond with, sure, I can either requote or just add the additional work to the final invoice. Which suits you more? Put that decision back in their court. Also, giving them an update partway through the project is a great way to communicate how the project's progressing and anything that you can see that would cause the creep or issues. In most cases, they will hopefully see that you are trying to help them and hopefully find a solution together. Negotiation is key here. Keep those communication lines open and honest so that you can both work towards a successful finished project. We really like this designer. Can you do this exact design but with our words instead? No. We got this picture off Pinterest. Can you paint it on our walls? No. Can you Photoshop this logo watermark off this image so that we don't have to pay for it? No. There's a huge difference between taking inspiration from other designers, artists, and experiences and then straight out copyright infringement. A client who asks for these sort of things is a massive red flag. Firstly, they don't value what the creative that they are trying to steal from has done, because that's what it is. It's theft of intellectual property. And secondly, they are asking you to do something that is morally wrong, making you the one to do the dirty work. No, we're not doing that. Sorry, not okay. But do you want to know how I'd solve this one? Ask them why. Ask the client why they didn't use that designer or why they think that behavior is okay. Because really, if they're willing to attempt dodgy behavior with that situation, they may do the same with your work. A client who has no idea of what they want, who will know it when they see it, or has had 842 rounds of changes is a pain in the neck. This is the other end of the scale. The creative freedom is there, but they aren't clear on what they want. They think they might know when they see it. And whilst it's not uncommon to have a client that's unsure of exactly what the finished product is going to look, feel, smell, sound like, they need to have at least an idea, maybe like 80% of it clear. Otherwise, why are we bothering in the first place? When you do venture into the territory of multiple rounds of changes, be honest about it, that the rounds of changes have exceeded the scope, but also be sure to have specified in the brief or onboarding section of that project what is accepted. Standard rounds of changes are around 2 to 3 changes, and it's common to request these to be communicated in a particular way, maybe in marked up PDF or written format. We need to be able to specify these early because we know that that's standard, but they might not. So how do we solve this one? Asking leading but specific questions. Interrogate them in a way that you're going to understand what it is they want. then produce them with a reverse brief and have them agree to it. Questions like, what problem is the design trying to solve? Or how will you measure the success of this design can help lead the client in a direction that is solution-based rather than just like something pretty. And that can really help with clarity. Now, at the end of the day, creating a relationship that works between you and the client is the best thing for both the designer, and them, the client. Creating a relationship that has good communication and trust will only lead to future work and maybe recommendations to other clients down the track. Set boundaries, be professional, and believe that you are the creative in the relationship that is there to solve the problems. And remember, every client is a learning experience, good or bad, and they will only add to your story. Order up! Thank you so much for joining me today, my fellow freelancer. I hope you found these pricing tips valuable and empowering. And if you're looking for more guidance or support to help you with your more profitable freelance business in the future, head over to creativebusinesskitchen.com. There you'll find a wealth of resources and tools, including pricing calculators, project templates, marketing strategies, and everything you need to help take your business to that next level. So don't wait. Come and join the Creative Business Kitchen and let's whip up the success of your freelance business together.